قرآن واسق حياتي قرآن.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, today we'll be learning 10 lessons from Juz 30. Let's go to our first lesson.
فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه.
The first lesson we learn from this juz is special attention to spiritual nourishment. A believer always is careful about external and internal nourishment. External nourishment is the food we eat. That should be the permissible one. Non-permissible food should be strictly avoided as it inversely affects our soul. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, عِلْمُهُ الَّذِي يَأْخُذُهُ مِمَّنْ يَأْخُذُوهُ. The gist of the hadith is one must be conscious from where he is acquiring knowledge. Knowledge is internal nourishment of soul. A believer should be careful about from where he gets the knowledge from.
سبح اسم ربك الأعلى.
The second lesson is glorifying Allah, the pure and high. A believer believes that Allah is the greatest and is not limited to anything. Allah's praise is mentioned in this verse. Do not bring God's name in the line of idol's name. Know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free of limitations such as body, etc. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above all things and imaginations. When this verse was revealed, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked us to bring this in our sajdas so that we glorify and testify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى.
The third lesson we get from this juz is the significance of Eid prayer and Zakat Fitrah. A believer knows that to be successful, one needs to give charity and purify oneself. Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam says, the gist of that is, like namaz is not completed without salawat, fasting is not completed without charity of fitrah.
كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم.
The fourth lesson we learn from this juz is to respect the orphans. In this verse, clear message is portrayed that who doesn't take care of the orphans distances himself from Allah. The person who eats orphans' right is resident of hell. Imam Ali alayhi salam in his wasiyat, in his will says, Allah, Allah fil aitam, فَلَا تُغِبُّوا أَفْوَاهَهُمْ وَلَا يَضِيعُوا بِحَضْرَتِكُمْ. The gist of the hadith is where Imam says, for Allah's sake, be conscious about the affairs related to orphans, so that it's not that they eat one day and are hungry on the other day. Therefore, we should try to help the orphans, especially amongst our relatives.
قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها.
The fifth lesson we learn from this juz is purifying our soul. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes 11 oaths and says, if you want to become successful, then purify the soul. This can be achieved by not sinning and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. A person who purifies, who does tazkiyatun nafs, his soul will be successful, and the one who doesn't purify will be ruined.
وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ.
The sixth lesson we get from this juz is acknowledging Allah's blessings. Being grateful for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessings, both orally as well as practically. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ جَمِيلٌ يُحِبُّ الْجَمَالِ وَيُحِبُّ أَن يَرَى أَثَرَ النِّعْمَةِ عَلَى عَبْدِهِ. The gist of the hadith is Allah is beautiful and Allah loves beautiful things. And Allah likes to see His blessings effect on His creations. There are few types of shukr. One is shukr lisani, when we do shukr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our tongue. The other type of shukr is shukr of the heart. What is meant is that the heart senses the value of blessings that Allah has bestowed upon His slave and fully acknowledges that the one who has bestowed these great blessings is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
أَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَرَى.
The seventh lesson we learn from this juz is Allah sees everything. Yes, Allah is present and aware of everything. If one believes in this, then the person will not commit any sin and will be always watchful of his deeds. One of the Urafa were asked that how did you reach this stage? He said, I acted upon Quran, but on one verse I acted more, and that was this verse, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always watching us.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون.
The eighth lesson we learn from this juz is do not take prayers lightly. There are people who take prayers lightly. The cause is having less or wrong understanding of Usul ad-Din. If Usul ad-Din is clear, then practically following Furu ad-Din would be easy. As it is said in a hadith that a person who takes Salat lightly will not get the intercession and shafaat of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Therefore, we must try to pray and pray on time, and if, God forbid, if there are qadha salat, we should try to make it on the same day.
ويمنعون الماعون.
The ninth lesson we get from this juz is trying to help others even in minor things. A believer tries to help others in his full capacity. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says,
من منع الماعون جاره منعه الله خيره يوم القيامة ووكله إلى نفسه ومن وكله إلى نفسه فما أسوأ حاله.
The gist of the hadith is, it is said that for the person who does not share his things with his neighbor, Allah will remove his blessings from that person and leave him alone in his affairs. How bad will that condition be? Therefore, a mu'min should try to help each other. In this way, we can have a successful life, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us in our affairs.
لكم دينكم ولي دين.
The last lesson we learn from this juz is living life according to the religious boundaries. A believer never follows non-believers' actions. For a believer, Islam and its teachings are more than enough. A believer has two responsibilities. One, to follow Islamic life by learning from Quran and Ahlul Bayt and apply that in his life. And second responsibility is to be careful of enemy and its trap when they try to present Islam in different form. And the believer never gets influenced by the non-Muslim and Western culture and never leaves his akhlaq and the correct faith and ideology. These were the 10 lessons from this juz. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us implement all the lessons we have learned throughout this Shahru Ramadan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
رحمن يا رحمن ساعدني يا رحمن اشرح صدري قرآن املأ قلبي قرآن واسق حياتي قرآن رحمن يا رحمن ساعدني يا رحمن